Hope you enjoyed that intro. As you might have guessed, today's video is about using Photoshop's AI Generative Fill to create some elements that we're then going to track inside DaVinci Resolve using Fusion. I'll be using the free version of DaVinci Resolve, so anybody will be able to follow along this tutorial. All the video and the music are from Artlist, so if you're looking into buying it, you can get 2 extra months for free using my link in the description. Let's go. So I just opened DaVinci Resolve, and the first thing I'm going to do is to upload my clip into the media pool. You can just drag and drop your footage here, or you can press Command I on your keyboard to import your footage. Press open and press change. Now we can simply drag the clip down here to create a new timeline. Let's switch to the edit page down here at the bottom. And I will just quickly toggle single view up here since we don't need our preview window. So as you can see, we have a pretty basic clip here of a desert and pretty much nothing else is going on except it's a little bit windy. So I want to add some kind of building down here in the right corner and maybe a structure in the distance up here. We are of course going to be using Photoshop's Generative Fill to create these elements. So first we're going to find the frame that we want to use in Photoshop, and because we have camera movement, we want to set a marker of where we picked our frame from. We can do that by pressing this icon or simply press M on the keyboard. Then we can come down here and switch to the color page. Come up here to the frame we have selected, right click and press grab still. Then come over here to the left, right click it and select export. Rename it and export it as a PNG file somewhere you can easily find it. And now we can open that still frame inside Photoshop. So inside Photoshop, we can select the rectangular marquee tool to make a selection in the area that we want to use Generative Fill. So I will make a selection in this area here. Now we can press the button called Generative Fill and type in anything we want to add. Keep in mind that you have to be a little bit creative if you want good results, because we are using Adobe's stock library. And the key is to generate a few times to find a good base image, and then we can make smaller adjustments with Generative Fill on top of it. Here's something I like, and now we can just come in here and select only this top part of the Generative Fill, and we can write a new prompt to add on top of this layer. This one works great. When you're happy with your result, we can just select all the layers, right click and merge layers. And let's rename this one to Bunker. This will keep it more organized later on inside Fusion. So looking at the composition, I think I want to add a radar device next to this building. So let's select a new area around here and let's try radar tower. I'll just press generate a few more times to have some more options. Here I like the dome part of the radar, but I want to change the bottom part. So let's select this area, and this time we can leave the Generative Fill blank for the AI to come up with its own take of a fit here. This one works great, so let's merge the layers again and rename it. Now let's come up here and see if we can generate some towers in the far back. Select a region. And let's try this prompt. So this one looks like a nice starting point, but I want to clean it up a little bit. I will speed this part up so we can jump right into the next part of this tutorial. So I also ended up adding a planet up here using the prompt Cosmos. Let's just quickly rename this to Moon, and now we can just save the project as a Photoshop file. Back in DaVinci Resolve, we can now come down here and click on Fusion, and that will bring up the Fusion page. Here we can do all kind of cool effects and animations without having to export it, convert it or render it. So for you who are not familiar with a node-based system, let me just quickly get you up to speed. So inside the Fusion page, we have our 2 viewers on top here. I'm going to use the left viewer as a source viewer, and the right viewer is going to be set as our final output. This is going to make a little bit more sense here in a few minutes. You can scrub back and forth on the timeline here in the middle. Right underneath we have our transport controls and our toolbar. And below that we have our nodes. By default, if you open a clip from the timeline, you will have 2 nodes, a media in and the media out, and they are connected with this yellow line. Each node is one of these boxes, and each node has a specific job for the most part. This node's job, the media in node, its job is to take the clip from our timeline and bring it into Fusion. The second node's job, the media out, is to take whatever we plug into it and bring it back into our edit page timeline. So right now, all we're doing is we're taking our clip from our timeline, we're doing nothing with it, and then we're putting it back into the edit page timeline. Everything we'll be doing to our clip inside Fusion is going to happen in between these two nodes. So now that's out of the way, the first thing I'm going to do is to keep it a little bit more organized so it's easier to follow. So we can right click here in our nodes window, go to Arrange Tools, and make sure To Grid is checked. Now whenever we create a new node or move an existing one, they are going to snap to the grid. Now we can come up here to the top, Fusion, Import, and choose PSD file. Locate your Photoshop file with our generative fill layers and press Open. So here we have all the layers. The top one here called background is the original still frame that we based our generative fill on. So we can just get rid of this one. Select these four normals and delete those as well. And move these layers up. So now we are left with these four layers that we want to bring into our scene. And if I press this little dot to the left under our node, I can bring that clip into our left viewer so we can see what is on the layer. In order to add these layers to our video clip, we can simply just drag a line from the node's output down to the media in's output. This is going to automatically create a merge node and add our layer on top of our clip. And we can do the same with the remaining three layers, connecting them to the last output in our flowchart chain. So now we have all our layers in our composition, but if I scrub through here, we can see that due to the camera movement, the layers are not lining up with our scene. So let's fix that with an effect called Planar Tracker. And if you are familiar with After Effects Motion Tracker, this is basically DaVinci Resolve's version of that. Let's first make sure that our clip is set to the still frame that we selected earlier. So let's go into our edit page and drag this playhead to our marker. And then we can go back into the Fusion page. Go down here to our media in, select it, and let's also set this as our left view. I'm going to set the zoom at 100% and resize the window a bit. Now we can hold Shift on our keyboard and press the spacebar. This will bring up our Select Tools search bar, and we can type in Planar Tracker and press Add. Come up here to our inspector window, click on the Set button to log our reference time at frame 103. Change the tracker type to Hybrid Point Area and motion type to Translation Rotation. Leave the rest as is. Now let's come over here to the left view and make a selection within the general area that we want our bunker to stick to our footage. Come back to our Planar Tracker Inspector and click this button to track to the end. Now press on this Go button to bring us back to our reference time, and now we can track to the start. Now we can click on Create Planar Transform, which will give us a node with the tracking data baked in. Now whenever we run any elements through this node, it will stick to the area that we just tracked. So let's grab this node and place it under our bunker layer. Take the output from the bunker layer to the input of the Planar Transform node. Then connect this Planar Transform back to our merge node, and voila! Now we just need to do it for the other three layers, so let's track our radar tower next. We could manually reset our Planar Tracker, but I'm just going to delete this one and add a new one because it's faster. Shift and spacebar to bring up our Select Tool search bar, add the Planar Tracker, set the reference time at frame 103 where everything lines up. Set the tracker to Hybrid, motion type, translation and rotation. Select the area where our radar is and let's track to end. Press Go and track to start. Create a new Planar Transform node, bring it to our radar tower node and connect it. Done. I'm just going to speed up the tracking for the last two elements and then we'll jump right into the next step. Now that we are done with our tracking, we can just go ahead and remove our Planar Tracker node. Now let's clean up our layers a bit by applying masks and maybe turn down the opacity on the moon layer. Let's first make the right viewer a little bigger and zoom in a bit. Select the polygon tool and now draw around the edge of our bunker. Now we can grab this node and place it above our bunker layer and connect the output to the input of the bunker. Now if I set the bunker layer to our right view, we can now see what the mask is doing. Now we can just adjust the soft edge slider over here to make the layer blend a little bit better. Let's do the same for all layers. Since the moon is almost a perfect circle, we can just use the ellipse tool here for a perfect mask. Under the moon node tree, we can now select the merge node down here at the bottom and come up here and turn the blend down to around 25%. This will make it look a little bit more realistic. So in our clip, we actually have a lot of sand flying around, and since that would be really difficult to recreate on top of our generative fill, the best thing we can do is to try to mimic the sand with some film grain. So let's select our bunker, press Shift spacebar on the keyboard and type in film grain. Add it, and let's go over to our inspector to fine tune our grain. So let's set the complexity to 5. Size maybe slightly down. Take down the strength and increase the roughness slightly. You can play around with the random seed to add some variation. And if I press play and toggle the effect on and off, we can see a small difference. It's very subtle, but it helps hiding the layers, especially on big monitors and screens. Now I can just copy this node to other layers by simply pressing Command C to copy, and then Command V on your layer you want to add it to. So I will only make a few adjustments to the layer here in the back, since the distance is further than our foreground elements. Last thing we can do to bring it all together is to apply a film look to our clip. Let's exit the Fusion page and come into our color page. I'm just quickly gonna get rid of these windows that we don't need. And let's bring up the effects over here. Come in here to our nodes and let's add one. Shortcut is Option S on your keyboard. Select our first node, come up here to search and type in color space transform and drag that onto our first node. Since I know this clip is a Rec 709, I will put that as the input color and set the gamma to gamma 2.2. We also want the output to be Rec 709, but the output gamma we are going to set to Cineon Film Lock. Now select our second node and come up here to the left and click on the LUTs tab. Click on Film Looks and come all the way down here until you find the Kodak 2383 D60. Drag it to your node, and that's the finished look. Alright, hope you learned something, hope you had fun. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. See you later.